Let me just deal with the issue of complaints, but only from the point of view as to what is the National Executive Committee doing about the complaints process and the implementation of the recommendations arising from the Chakabati Review and so on. I mean, obviously, we are as concerned as everyone else, and those of us that got elected to represent the CLPs, the membership, last year. Those of us who were new anyway were certainly surprised, if not shocked, by the extraordinary length of time that it takes to process these complaints. And certainly, if you recall, during the leadership elections, there was some 11,000 or so, administrative suspensions. And we set about trying to do something about that immediately, and got at least half of those, dismissed as frivolous and non-existent, really. And sought to try to whittle down the rest, and I think we've got something like now 200 sitting, still waiting to be heard. So from that point of view, we tried to bring it right down, and the ones that are really left are those that have been referred to the NCC, and those, I'm told, become a bit more complex because depending on the nature of the complaint and the way in which the person being complained of responds as well, in some cases have involved their own lawyers, and then it becomes a longer process in terms of the sort of litigations that then ensue. But notwithstanding that, I personally do think that we are taking far too long to get these cases heard. And what happens is somebody is assigned, in many cases, to a panel to hear the cases. And then often there's an administrative issue about getting just the basics, like getting people to agree dates. And I'm told it takes an extraordinarily long time for people to agree dates. But I think that it's still extraordinarily too long. And for people to be left in a position where they don't know what, in their perception, they're being accused of, let alone having the opportunity to be heard and to be to have their case heard in a timely fashion, I think is wrong. So we are constantly, certainly trying to push that agenda very hard in terms of trying to get these cases dealt with. We have something called a disputes panel as part of the NEC, and so concerned almost as everybody about the length of time it takes to administer these cases that almost every member of the NEC even sits on the disputes panel whenever it meets. And so all those cases come before the disputes panel as well. And extraordinarily too long, I agree, and we need to do something very seriously about that. And I can't even say that the party is not flush with resources in order to address this, because of course what comes with a huge membership is more resources. So we can't say that we haven't got resources, because clearly as members we've ensured that we've delivered the resources for the party, and we've put the party in a very healthy shape because of the membership and the huge numbers that have joined. So we do have a right, absolutely, to question the length of time that it's taking to process complaints. And I would just, continue to urge you to raise this in every quarter possible. And just because the review isn't directly looking at the detail of this, it doesn't mean that as members we can't make the representation and noises and voices about the concerns that we have. I will say one thing. The other thing that we came across when I say the we, being the sort of 6 members that were elected to represent CLPs and represent the members, The other thing we came across was the issue of CLPs in suspension. And you know, in some cases, nobody could remember the history of why that CLP was in suspension. It's been so long. I mean, you're talking about near on 30 years for some CLPs, which is just incredible. And we've now got to a situation where the NEC has taken this position very seriously and said that its position is to move CLPs out of suspension as quickly as possible. And hence, the large number, well, there were quite a few CLPs in the Birmingham region that were in suspension. We were able to announce at the last NEC meeting that they are now out of suspension. And, you know, the other thing about those suspensions, of course, that we noticed was that they were in areas where there were large BAME constituents. So again, you know, that was this sort of almost, you know, discrimination at the heart, if you like. At least it would appear that way. But so change is happening all the time, and we would drive down on those complaints that remain, you know, sitting in the bank for far too long, and we need to obviously bring about that change. So